SL sports car. You saw a picture of it earlier. We learned to share this sleek, I call silver red marble, with me while we were together at the University of Kentucky. Milton chose science and understanding nature and its matter as opposed to farming. He did work with NASA as I did, put men on the moon and returned them safely to Earth. He became a private pilot, aircraft owner, united families in Colorado, Alabama, Tennessee, and beyond. He invented, he was innovative, he owned and he managed a LiDAR company instead of succumbing to the black gold fever. Milton was a dreamer who loved the Lord, a trusted brother, and a faithful friend. I say farewell, my brother, till we meet again.
My name is Jim Bilbro. I first met Milt 48 years ago next month. Didn't sleep well last night. He said I only had a minute. I can tell stories of Milt for a lot longer than a minute. But he was, I started working with him within a couple of years of having first met him. So basically from 73 until he left in 76, we had a lot of projects, some of which I see Alex here, and I haven't seen him in 45 years. And we tracked aircraft vortices at JFK Airport. We tracked dust devils at the Gila River Indian Reservation in Phoenix, Arizona. Clear turbulence on the NASA Ames Research Center. And so many other things. The thing that was unique about Milton was his vision, and also his certainty that everything could get accomplished, which drove me freaking crazy. That was particularly as I pulled up and to unload a couple of LiDAR vans in Kennedy Airport, only to be confronted with the cops, hauling out a body from the junkyard across the street from the entrance. And then, of course, the next week when they found the body in the trunk just a block away. But that was New York in the 70s, okay? And then we came to Phoenix, and we weren't having a lot of trouble with dust devils. They weren't acting up, so Milton asked me, he said, well, why don't we just ask the farmer to plow the field? I said, no, these people are they work for a living. He's not going to plow the field for us. And he said, well, it won't hurt to ask. And sure enough, he asked, and he didn't plow that field, but he told us, no, I'm going to be plowing the field just a mile down the road. So we picked up our vans and moved down, and we tracked a lot of dust devils over the course of that time period. And even though there were really, when I think about it, only a short time with Milton before he left to go to NOAA, he kept me in the loop, basically on the informal coherent LiDAR conference. I was on the board of directors. When he did his study with the Air Force and for the space-based LiDAR. And then when I actually was involved in a study for space-based LiDAR with NASA, Milt, through Coherent Technologies, was doing the laser for that. The one regret I had is that we never quite managed to make it. We did a lot of things, but we never pulled off a space-based coherent LiDAR. But it'll happen one day. The other thing is that Milt he loved to travel. He loved good food. My first experience with him was actually in Boston after going down to a really great meal. coming back with a bunch of guys, and in a day when the cars had these center posts, and I'm sitting in the front seat in the middle, and Milton's getting in the back, and he grabs that center post to swing himself in just as the guy next to me slammed the door. And Milt couldn't say anything. All he could do was go. And I could see Milt's fingers, inside the door. And so I yelled at the guy, open the door, open the door. So instead of going, back to the hotel, we went to the emergency room. But I've dropped into our mutual colleague in Chris Erner in Germany, only to find that there was Milton, having just come back from Moscow. So, it's just, and the travel, he loved his generosity, he loved to do, good food, good wine. We shared a lot of experiences on wine. One of my best memories is that he was always trying to take me to dinner, and I told him, Milton, I work for the government, you can't do that. And he said, well, I said, no, I can't do it. So finally I retired. So next time I came out, I said, all right, no, I'm retired, you can take me to dinner. So we went to the Flagstaff house, and Neva was our driver, okay? And so he and I had always had this long conversation about, I'm a big Armagnac fan, and for those of you that don't know, that's a brandy from the south of France. Milton loved cognac, particularly Frappin, Grand Champagne. And so he told us on the day, he said, all right, we're going to have a taste on it. And he said, I want you know what I want you to bring out my favorite cognac. And he said, I want you to pick a comparable, Armagnac. Well, my friend Jim here, we're going to have a taste on it. Well, the sommelier showed up with a 1928 Francois Bourgeois Armagnac. I nearly fell out of my seat. Okay. And the best part of it all was Milton agreed that I won. I'll miss you, Milton. God bless you.
Now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear, I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full, I've traveled each and every highway, but much more than this, I did it my way. Regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too much. I did. Thought through without exemption. I've been each charted course, each careful step along the byway, and much more than this, I did it my way. Yes, there were times, I'm sure you knew, when I bit off more than I could chew. But through it all, when there was doubt, I spit it up, spit it out. I faced it all, and I stood tall and did it I've loved, I've laughed and cried. had my fill, my share of losing. Now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way. Oh no, oh no, not me. I did it my way. For what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he is not to say the things he truly feels, and not the words of one who kneels. The record shows I took the blows and did it my way. Yes, it was my way.
I now invite Lorna and Sammy and Vicky? No. Okay. Whoever is next.
Hi, I'm Lorna Keeler, Jeff Keeler's wife. Jeff and Mike Hardesty were active in NOAA's wave propagation lab when Milton arrived in Boulder back in 1976. They were doing some initial work on Doppler LiDAR as a precursor to Milton's passion of a spaceborne wind LiDAR. Neither Jeff nor Mike could be here today, so I am going to read what Mike Hardesty wrote about his working relationship with Milton over the years. So now these are Mike's words. I'm quite disappointed that I can't be here personally to pay my respects to Milton. Ironically, and perhaps fittingly, I'm in Virginia co-chairing a meeting of experts investigating the use of satellite-mounted lasers to measure winds in the Earth's atmosphere. Milton, more than any other person, was the originator of this idea. When I first met him more than 40 years ago, he had just been recruited by NOAA to come to Boulder to advance this concept. Over the next 4 decades, he continued to play a leading role in moving the idea forward. I think despite all of his successes, this was always most dear to his heart. Certainly no one was more pleased than Milton when the Europeans launched the first satellite last summer to measure winds and use the observations to improve weather forecasts. And I know he keenly followed the progress of this instrument with great interest. I'm particularly pleased that he lived to see his dream realized. Milton had a major influence on me and my professional career. He introduced me to the idea of LiDAR, or laser radar. Before he showed up there in Boulder, I barely knew what a LiDAR was. But this initial encounter set me on a career path that has been very fulfilling, challenging, and fun. I owe him a large debt of gratitude. Thanks, Milton. Because we're in the same field, I've stayed in close contact with him over these past 40 years. I'll remember him always as a good friend valued colleague, and very generous man. His success in founding and growing a very successful, highly innovative commercial LiDAR company is well known. Perhaps less visible to the general public was his work to nurture the next generation of optical scientists by supporting international meetings and conferences, and in particular providing travel money for young scientists to attend these conferences. In addition to his other achievements, our field owes him a great debt for this generosity, and I expect this and his other philanthropic work are accomplishments for which he would like to be most remembered. Another of Milton's unique contributions was his keen awareness that advancement in science requires teamwork, collaboration, and a sense of community. Over the years, a recurring event at many international meetings in our field was a social dinner hosted by Milton that was attended by a mix of 30 to 40 experts and spouses from around the world, along with young students and early career scientists. No matter where the event was held, whether it was New York, Bucharest, St. Petersburg, or Paris, Milton would always find an excellent restaurant that served great food